I spend an hour each day for the past month clicking on blue balls, while practicing my aim on AimLabs. Hi everyone, my name is Shadow and I've been playing FPS games for basically the past 10 years. Though I mainly play console games like Halo and COD for the first 9 of those 10 years, I've spent much of this year playing games like Valorant and CSGO. At the beginning of this year, I decided to main Valorant. While I do enjoy the game, there's one big problem throughout it all. I have really bad aim. Though I'm really committed to getting better at the game, my goal before the year wraps up is to make one final push in Valorant ranked and see what rank I'll be placed at. I plan to make deliberate improvements on my mechanics since I'm still a low elo in Valorant. I feel as though my aim is not up to par due to my lack of mouse control, even after spending a week straight working on my aim using deathmatch. And everyone's favorite thing to improve on is their aim, so I hope to come out with aim like 10s, or at least a Walmart version. So let's get into the video where I show you my aim progression after using AimLabs for 1 month. First things first, let's talk about the different types of aim you have in gaming. There are 2 categories of aiming that you need to address, which is the raw and in-game aim. Raw aim is when your aim transfers over to any game, whether you're playing games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, or Apex. This basically has to do with your mouse control. Now, in-game aim is your aim in the game. Things like crosshair placement, peeking, and movement will fall under this category of in-game aim. Now for AimLabs, we're mainly going to be talking about raw aim, since we're not going to be practicing things like crosshair placement and peeking, as I think the best option to practice those mechanics would be in your game of choice. For example, mine would be Valorant throughout this month. Now when you get on AimLabs, what I did and recommend working on is your 6 aiming motions, which are micro, flicking, swiping, smoothing, tracking, and vertical aiming. If you want to learn more about the 6 aiming motions, I would recommend watching this video by Ron Rambo Kim that talks in further detail about the 6 aiming motions and how you should be practicing your aim. In Ron's video, he gives a playlist that includes tasks that helps you train those 6 aiming motions. That is going to be the playlist that I'm going to be using throughout this month. Some of the popular courses that are found in the playlist are Grid Shot, Line Trace, Micro Shot, Reflex Shot, and Switch Track, just to name a few. Each day I'm going to be doing all 6 playlists once, but I'm going to do a second run at certain playlists week by week in order to build some endurance in my arm. For example, on the first week I'm going to be doing all 6 playlists and finish up the session by doing micro and flicking playlists again. Then on the second week I'm going to be doing the next 2 and the next 2 on the next week. So finally at the end of the month I'll be doing every playlist twice till the month is over. Once I'm done practicing on AimLabs, I'm going to play a deathmatch to make sure I don't lose my in-game aim while I'm on AimLabs. Now with all of that out of the way, let's go over my AimLabs progression. So today's August 1st and we're going to be doing aim training for a month using Ron Rambo Kim's playlist. Let's see how it goes. As you could probably hear in my voice, I sound enthusiastic. Little did I know, it was not going to start off well. As you can see, I struggled on basically every task and it was a little bit shocking to me to see my aim was this bad. I knew my aim wasn't really the best, but I didn't think it looked this bad. I could tell my wrist was getting tired and it was hard for me to control my mouse, especially when it came to the tracking and smoothing task. Also, I have a pretty slow reaction time when it came to flicking. It's hard to be able to make micro adjustments and basically everything was tough on this first day. By the end of the day, I was pretty much defeated. I think I'm done for today. I basically finished an hour or so that's GG's for today. Let's see how I do tomorrow. In my deathmatch game, I got a high amount of kills, though my aim still felt shaky, and I was shooting at the enemy's bodies. No, not like this. Throughout the next couple of days, I want to improve on at least some of the scores that I got on the first day, now that I have some familiarity on the task. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'm able to see some major improvements as I get used to most of the tasks and continue to work on each part of my aim. Alright, it's been a week since I started my aim training. Let's see how much I progressed throughout the week. Here are the graphs that show my progression. Since there are a bunch of tasks done during each session, I'll go over some of the tasks that I improved on most throughout the week. So during this week I improved a lot on micro star track, since this was easily one of my weakest performance on the first day. On my first day I also didn't realize that there is a pattern to the circle's movement, so I was just randomly guessing where the circle was gonna go next. I'm still not as good as I would like on the task, though I can tell I'm moving towards the right direction. Another task I'm improving on is Spider Shot 180. If you take a look at the graph, you can see a constant improvement on my score. Something I want to mention is that my mouse control has gotten better, as you really can't see that just by looking at the data. Also, I have built up some endurance on my arm, since on the first day my wrist would start cramping up. Towards the end of the week, my wrist didn't really have any pain or felt sore. All in all, during my week I had some highs and lows, but at the end of the week I ended up somewhere in the middle. I have seen some improvement on basically every area of my aiming, which is expected due to it being my first time doing every task and just becoming more familiar with the tasks by the end of the week. As for my deathmatch, I feel about the same. I have not noticed much of an improvement, though I'm not as lazy as I was with my aim, since on the first day my arm was pretty tired by the end of the session. So I really can't tell much of a difference at the moment. So far I'm happy with my progress and will continue to see how I progress through the next coming weeks. Today is day 14, week 2 of doing AimLabs every day. So far I'm starting to get pretty comfortable with my aim and I'm starting to learn where my weaknesses lie at. Today is the last day I'll be doing the middle 2 playlists twice per session. Let's see how today goes. Now I just finished week 2 and I can tell I'm starting to become more consistent with my aim. My micro and regular flicking have gotten a lot better than what it was on the first week. Though my flicking is still random, as some days I do exceptionally well and others I do about average. My vertical aiming and swiping have improved from the first week to this week. Some of the drills like strafe bot, rocket shot, and sphere track are some of the ones that I struggle with since they deal with tracking the targets. That is going to be something I'm going to want to improve on for week 3, especially since I'm going to be doubling up on tracking and smoothing playlists. Other than that, I can really tell I'm starting to improve since my familiarity boost is starting to wear off. Now when I look at my aim from the first week and compare it to what it is now, I can see the progress I have made throughout these 2 weeks. As far as the deathmatch goes, my micro flicking and tracking practice is starting to pay off. As I can see, I'm starting to make micro adjustments easier, which is helping me get headshots more often. Unlike before, I would sometimes struggle with those same shots. Though I still have a problem with getting lazy with my crosshair placement and movement. Either way, I'm pretty happy with my mouse feel and how my shots looking throughout this week. Let's see how I perform next week. Alright, this is day 21, week 3 of doing AimLabs every day. I've been enjoying the process so far and today's going to be the last day I'm going to be doing 2 aiming motion playlists, which are tracking and smoothing for the second time in the session. Starting tomorrow, I'll do every playlist twice per session. Let's see how it goes. On this day, I ended up dropping high scores on micro track and motion shot. I'm glad I'm still improving even after 3 weeks, though I'm starting to feel as though I'm not improving as fast as I was during the first 2 weeks. If you take a look at some of the graphs on your screen, you can see the improvement jump from week 1 to week 2 to be much larger than from week 2 to week 3. Though this is kinda expected since the more I practice, the harder it's gonna be to top some of my previous scores, since there is gonna be a ceiling I will hit, though I just hope the ceiling is not now. In my deathmatch game, I still feel pretty much the same as I did last week. So my micro and flicking aim was pretty decent, though things like my tracking is still struggling. So not much has changed since the last week. Let's see how I perform on the next week. Alright, now it's day 28, week 4 of doing AimLabs every day. Today marks my full last week of doing AimLab training since I'm going to continue the next 3 days to train my aim to stay true to that 1 month progression. I'll briefly go over the last week during this time and in a later time go over the last 3 days. During this week I think I have some of the biggest improvements I have seen yet, especially on the playlist that deals with the smoothing and tracking. Tasks like line trace, circle trace, and sphere track have been some of the tasks that you can see a major jump in my score as compared to last week. Since we're getting closer to the end of the month, I'm pretty happy with my results right now, as I can see using the data points that have been improving throughout this whole month. Even in my deathmatch games, I can tell my aim is starting to get better when it comes to flicking and tracking to my opponents. Looking at my video, I can tell my raw aim has pretty much found its stride, while things like my movement and crosshair placement is holding my aim back. Let's see how I finish off the last couple of days. Today is going to be the last day of the challenge of training my aims on AimLabs. It is currently the 31st of August and hopefully we get some high scores on some of the tests. I haven't really looked back on it, but I'm hoping you can tell that my aim has improved a lot throughout the video. Now let's see how I perform on my last day of aim training. Now on my last day I only got 1 high score, which is micro star track, and that's pretty much it. Though I'm not too down about it since I know I improved on every task. My mouse control feels way better than what it did on the first day, and if you take a look at most of the graphs when you compare them from 3 days ago till now, I basically haven't changed too much on my scores given the little time frame to improve. But you can still see at least some improvement on almost every task. As for the deathmatch, I can see I feel more comfortable with my raw aim. I'm happy to see my aim has improved, especially when it comes to micro and regular flicks. I will continue to practice my in-game aim in order to improve my aim and make it as perfect as possible. Now some final things I want to mention about the progression. As you can see from almost every graph, I have a pretty steady incline on each task when it came to improvement on my score. Some of the outliers include my reflex shot, which works on my flicking. I think this is due to the fact that some days my aim was on, and I was hitting everything and was wide awake during the process. My free track also has a similar story. As you can see, I peaked around week 4 and stayed pretty much the same level throughout the whole month aside from week 2. Other than those 2 tasks, I see pretty much improvement on every task. I feel as though my mouse control has continued to improve the more I train my aim. Also, my arm endurance has been pretty solid since about week 2. I'm happy I'm able to see improvement even on the last few days since it shows I'm still not hitting a ceiling as long as I continue to make the tasks harder and stay consistent with my aim training. So that is how I progress throughout the month. Now let's talk about my final thoughts. Okay, so I finished recording this video around 3 months ago and have been busy ever since. Since some time has passed, I got to reflect more on my AimLabs 1 month journey and have concluded that this was something very much needed on my FPS journey. Looking back on it, I cringe watching deathmatches and sessions I had on AimLabs, even on the last day, since I have been using AimLabs to this day and have feel as though my aim has improved a bunch since then. I also think my aim routine was pretty good since I trained all 6 of my aiming motions and not just focus on one thing like flicking. Though now when I aim train, I kinda cut down some of the tasks that had to do with vertical, smoothing, and swiping, since those aiming motions are not used much in Valorant. I think the aiming motions I use most frequently are micro, flicking, and tracking. I think as though tracking has helped out my aim the most, since I'm able to track enemies and make micro adjustments to their head in whichever way they are moving. In my opinion, if you're going to start aim training, I would recommend working on all 6 aiming motions, then decide to cut off some of the tasks that you do not find useful in your aim training. And I think that aim training is somewhat needed if you want to improve as an FPS player. It's not necessarily needed in an aim trainer, as you could probably get similar results just by playing deathmatch over and over again, though it will take a while to improve your raw aim by just using deathmatch. I think some form of aim training using AimLabs and playing deathmatch to improve both your raw and in-game aim would be the best in order to have your aim reach its max potential. I also think aim training is especially good if you're somebody who's in low elo or just started playing mouse and keyboard and you lack some mouse control. Also remember that it takes time to get your aim like some of your favorite pros that have put tens of thousands of hours in their game of choice and have already done their part. If you want aim like theirs, you can start by practicing as much as you can for hours on end, and I promise you will see improvement in your aim. So with all of that being said, thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Feel free to comment down below how you feel about your aim and aim training. And with all of that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.